How's it going, guys? I'm back with part 8 in my read-through of The Secret Man by Frank Dukes. I want to apologize for not having done any of these videos in a while. I've just been really busy, and also I've kind of had a lack of motivation for a while as well to read through this book. But I want to see through this to the very end here, and I'm going to try my best to keep doing these videos until I finish reading this book. But I'm seriously considering suing Frank for damages done to my intelligence and my mental state of mind. And I'm seriously thinking about setting up a GoFundMe campaign to hire Robert Shapiro as my lawyer to sue Frank. And why, you may ask, Robert Shapiro? Well, hell, if he can get OJ off, I'm sure he can help me win my case against Frank. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue on reading Chapter 8. Chapter 8, Dirty Tricks and Poison Darts. Casey wanted me working in the shadows, but right now he had me operating in the dark. Isn't that the same goddamn thing? Oh, God. Alright. Over the years, the DCI's policy would frequently be to confide as little information to me as possible for both his and my protection. However, the success of some of my tasks demanded that he entrust me with as much information as possible. "That's one of your talents, Frank," he told me on more than one occasion. "You can make something out of nothing, whether it comes to weapons or information. I like that. It means I can get by without having to confide every damn detail. Saves time, and it's safer too." "For you, at least," I'd reply. "It makes things a hell of a lot more difficult for me, not to mention more dangerous." "Perhaps," he replied, the hint of a perverse grin tugging at the corners of his mouth, "but you can deal with that kind of danger. There's stuff going on that you don't want to know about, and it involves a different kind of danger. Frank, it's called politics. You don't have any experience with that kind of pearl, and you'd be little more than a sitting duck. Trust me, as long as these fuckers are snipping at me, you're going to be safe. They're not going to shoot at something they don't even know exists." He was right to a point. He was right to a point. He didn't mention that when a battle is going on, it's easy to get hit in the crossfire, whether anybody knows you're there or not. I would learn about the hazards he mentioned later on, particularly years later during a campaign calculated to smear my character and career. Campaigns to discredit individuals are almost standard operating procedure for the FBI and CIA. The truth matters only in how it can be twisted for a specific purpose. Such campaigns demand little effort or imagination. Most of the time, a mere suggestion is enough to damage the credibility of an individual or an organization, divert attention from real issues, or plant a seed of doubt in the public's mind. Okay. Such smear campaigns generally target groups, not individuals. However, individuals, particular leaders, and persons with high profiles provided the vulnerability in any organization. Discrediting leaders could discredit entire organizations or movements in one fell swoop. The FBI's well-publicized smear campaign against Dr. Martin Luther King to slow the mobilization of the civil rights movements as an anti-war movement during the Vietnam War is merely one example of an often used strategy. The FBI and CIA are supposed to operate separately. Not only are they both organizations extremely territorial, but the agency's connections to organized crime, not to mention its support to such groups as the Nigerian Contras, who smuggle huge quantities of cocaine through Miami for sale in the U.S. drug market, often placed it at odds with various police agencies and internal security organizations. However, the FBI and CIA have worked together in various instances, such as the attempt to attack and discredit churches and groups working on Central American issues, particularly the sanctuary movements, an underground railroad primarily for so I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, refugees. One such scheme involved an or whatever, once again, leave the caption, can't read that word, military officer Frank. I'll leave another caption, I can't read this person's last name, who was recruited by the FBI and posed as a, once again the caption, refugee to infiltrate, another caption because I can't read that word either, a Central American solidarity group and the Interreligious Task Force on Central America at Holy Cross Catholic Church in Dallas, Texas. After, once again, I'll leave the caption, can't read this dude's last name, cover was blown, he publicly he publicly expressed his fear that the FBI would have him killed in newscasts and later in testimony to Congress. He revealed that due to his superior's frustration that after 2 years of undercover work he had not uncovered a single illegal activity. He had been under orders to plant guns on the grounds members and on the group members and discredit the 2 nuns spearheading the group. Under orders, he had broken into the nuns' living quarters at Bethany House, and he also had planted illegal wiretaps on the phones of, I'll leave the caption, I can't read that, members, and had broken into their homes and apartments. Members of the group were also harassed by the IRS. Meanwhile, in concert with the CIA's Central American agenda, supposedly under the jurisdiction of President Reagan, but actually orchestrated by core group of which Casey was a member. The FBI broke into, I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, offices across the country. Ironically, the FBI was called in afterward to investigate its own break-ins. I witnessed similar campaigns, and in May 1988, when the Los Angeles Times ran an article imputing my integrity as a martial artist, I immediately sensed a hands pulling the strings behind the scenes. Oh God, it's not a conspiracy, Frank. It's just someone who was investigating your lie and called you out on it. At first, I believed that the martial arts magazines had intimidated the smear, or initiated the smear to discredit me, since I would not play their profit games and to pump up their own advertised stars. I recalled how in 1980, Jon Stewart, the editor of Black Belt told me that I would be blackballed unless I committed to selling its sister campaign, O'Hara Books, my book rights. These books would be composed of a series of articles first published in the magazine. If I did not agree, Rainbow Publications, which at the time controlled Black Belt and other martial art magazines, dominating the martial arts readership, would discredit me. Of course, Stewart first emphasized the lucrative opportunities of joining the martial arts seminar circuit, but only if I joined the group of martial artists with book contracts with O'Hare Books. But even though, thanks to Stewart, I had been featured in a number of articles in short succession, I refused to participate in these attempts to cheapen the long and dignified tradition of the martial arts. Shortly afterward, when Rainbow Publications and O'Hare Books began a profiteering bonanza I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, who billed himself as the only American ninja, an independent ninja such as myself clearly threatened the monopoly of the title. This only American ninja, cashing in on the ninja craze in the 80s, intimidated that any I'll leave a caption. I can't read that. I don't know. It might not be right. Okay, that any practitioner but himself was a fake. Even Jon Stewart knew better, for he had seen me perform each legendary ninja task, including the death touch called Din Mak by the Chinese. This skill involves the ability to hit the human body and even cause death without leaving a bruise. I demonstrated on a pile of bricks and selectively controlled my kinetic energy to destroy any single brick or combination of bricks in between. as I had done on PM Magazine and for Merry Heart of Entertainment Tonight at John's request. However, the task was further complicated by the use of materials of different densities, including fragile ceramic tiles and concrete caps. With the cameras flashing and videotape rolling, I broke only the top ceramic tile and the bottom concrete cap in the stack. I was asked to repeat the stunt again, this time breaking only the bottom brick, a feat documented in the September 1980 issue of Black Belt magazine. When John later asked me what I thought of the other American ninjas' legitimacy, I referred him to an article John himself showed me, in which the self-proclaimed authority stated that a ninja would hide underwater for hours by using the wooden scabbard of his sword through which to breathe. I had seen this tactic employed on a Japanese ninja series in Japan, but this description was merely a product of fanciful writing. Anyone who dives knows that I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, pressure makes it impossible to breathe through any object longer than a foot-long hose while submerged underwater. The narrow wooden scabbard, a quarter-inch in diameter, would measure at least 24 inches. As for me, I let my actions speak for my legitimacy. That's because you have no proof of your legitimacy, Frank. You have absolutely no proof whatsoever that you have trained in any martial arts style at all. No pictures of you or any teacher that you've ever trained under. Nothing. Where Stephen K. Hayes actually has proof that he has gone to Japan and trained under Hatsumi in the Bujinkan system of ninjutsu in Tokaka Ryu. I'm probably saying it wrong. For those of you who are practitioners in the Bujinkan system, I am deeply sorry if I'm saying this wrong. But yeah, let's just continue on here. But integrity is not a high commodity on the U.S. martial arts scene. No shit. If integrity was a high commodity on the U.S. martial arts scene, frauds like you would not have schools. Even after the release of Bloodsport and the renewed interest the film fanned in martial arts, good for business all round, a number of martial arts magazines attacked me since I did not serve their special interest. One editor went as far as to imply that Jean-Claude Van Damme and I never met until the filming was completed, ignoring the fact that I am listed in the film's credits as Jean-Claude's trainer and the film's fight choreographer. As recently as the I'll leave a caption, I can't read that, Martial Arts Festival in July 1993, I was attacked from behind by a 250-pound, 6'5" kickboxer trying to make a name for himself at my expense. Oh god, here comes the infamous story where I was attacked from behind by a guy with brass knuckles, even though I'm supposed to be able to see an attack coming even if I'm blindfolded. I just find that to be funny as hell. I wrestled him to the ground but was viciously kicked by a number of his karate friends before others separated us. Black Belt reported, I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word, version of the incident, insisting no one was arrested when in fact my assailant was arrested following the attack. Shortly afterward, he distinguished his Kumite career on pay-per-view television when he was pummeled to the canvas within minutes and immediately threw in the towel. Oh god. And he's talking about the Ultimate Fighting Championship fight. I think he was the guy he was talking about. I think he fought Royce Gracie, and Royce Gracie choked him out. I can't remember how that fight went. That was like a long time ago. But yeah. What's funny is if this guy who supposedly attacked you was arrested, there would be a police report on this incident. But try as I may, I have not found any police report on this whatsoever. Okay. Interestingly enough, in Europe I have no such political problems. Perhaps the Europeans still... I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word. Concepts of personal honor and are unwilling to compromise their values to be swayed by pressures from special interest groups, unlike the United States where anyone can teach martial arts. In Europe, teachers must be licensed and prove themselves morally accountable. American trade magazines, however, often do a disservice to American martial artists and manipulate news or spread gossip in conjunction with matters ultimately unconnected with the true philosophy of martial arts. With the Times article, however, I soon realized that sometimes more sinister and possessing greater authority than small-time racketeers and self-publicists lie beyond the newsprint and illusion of objective reporting. The article was based almost totally upon falsehoods and allegations attributed to unknown and unverified sources. Refusing to quote such reputable martial artists as Ed Parker in support of me meant to cast doubts on the authenticity of my achievements. One detail backfired when John Johnson, the writer, implied that I purchased my Kumite Championship trophy from a local trophy company. He based his claim upon a receipt dated 1982, despite the fact that I am shown holding the trophy in the November 1980 issue of Black Belt magazine. Okay, when I confirmed the Times editor who ran the story, my suspicions were confirmed. Or when I confronted the Times editor who ran the story, my suspicions were confirmed. Although I offered actual tapes of Kumite fights to the offices of the Times, he declined to watch them and refused to delve. I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word. His so-called sources, or where the newspaper had obtained alleged, and I'll leave a caption, can't read that word, military records. All of these actions were reminiscent of methods I had seen used in the past. When I confronted him with the fact that the article's writer had shown a photo of someone else to I'll leave a caption. I can't read the and Armed Services Public Affairs officer identifying the person in the photos as Frank Dukes, he admitted that he had no choice but to run the article. What he told me next shouldn't have come as a surprise, but the editor's confession still sent a chill through me. North was behind the smear. He muttered, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Okay, my lawyer, Michael, I'll leave a caption, can't read the dude's last name, terminated the meeting right after the editor's admission. However, it left me a great deal to think about. In my mind, I believed that he was referring to Ollie North. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Ollie North? Oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. And that means that figures within the CIA or persons associated with its operations wanted to destroy my credibility and had launched a primitive strike, a preemptive strike. Of course, the last thing they wanted to do was to attack my work for Casey and the agency and bring into the open the very things they wanted kept covered. So they attacked my my professional credibility to cast aspirations on my personal integrity. I should have expected such attacks, particularly after Casey's death. I also should have remembered that smear attacks never happen singly, but in one two punches, and the Times article was almost immediately followed by an IRS seizure of my personal property. The IRS seemed to have a keen interest in my photo album and papers. They were probably after you because you didn't pay taxes. Okay. I found myself emotionally unprepared for the effect these actions would have upon my morale. Perhaps the attacks affected me so deeply because my martial arts career was one area of my life that had not been shrouded in. I'll leave a caption, I can't read that word. The one part of me that had always been out in the open. Every other aspect of my existence revolved around false identities, subterfuge, and masking the truth. The very things my father had given up to live a common life, hauling doors and etching out a living for himself and his family, a price he considered well worthwhile for the ability to be himself. The Times reporter not only had attacked my record, but in an underhanded manner he had attacked my integrity and pride based upon years of dedication, sweat, study, and service. Of course, the Times fiasco also illustrated why Casey limited information that could compromise either of us, but in truth, to succeed in my intel investigation of the mysterious murders, as well as my subsequent missions, I needed every bit of information I could get, even the benefit of the old man's instincts, which, although often blinded my political ideology, many times provided valuable and right on target. When I began my first assignment, Casey's instinct was all I had to go on. For some time, law enforcement agencies had been working from a pool of seemingly unrelated and unsolved murders involving immigrants or unidentified victims suspected to have been entered the or to have entered the country illegally. The only connection these cases lie in the unknown identities of the victims, which was really no connection at all, merely a catch-all category of any case that could not be pursued due to the lack of information. But a new element provided a strange twist, and the first potential break in the investigation of another unknown victim's murder. It also grabbed Casey's attention and triggered his suspicions. Found at a recent murder site and an outdated KGB dart hinting at possible KGB involvements. Elements with the agency were alerted, and somewhere along the line, Robert Ames entered into the investigation. His instincts warned him of something fishy, and he passed on his suspicions to Casey. If someone within the agency or connected in any way had committed this murder, or possibly a series of killings, the publicity could be catastrophic and jeopardize secrecy. Casey, like many of those both inside and outside the intelligence communities, perceived demands of accountability as counterproductive to the very nature of his organization. As far as he was concerned, the less press the better, and the public be damned. So we had the dart, but at this point, any scenario for the murder was pure speculation. When I met with Casey, a practice that would become less and less frequent over the years, he brought me up to date and showed me the murder weapon, a KGB poison dart propelled by compressed oxygen from a firing mechanism easily distinguished in an umbrella or a rolled up newspaper. And it didn't look like a dart at all, but more like a hollowed out BB. That the technology was years behind what was currently available. Darts are almost microscopic size. No motive had been deducted. No, I'll leave a caption, can't read that word, for the murder. In fact, the victim had not even been identified, and fingerprint checks turned up nothing. The killing certainly involved no threats to national security, other than that Bill Casey had a hunch. Casey's hunches, though, had an uncanny way of panning out. I studied what little information had been gathered thus far. The dart had entered the victim's neck beneath the right ear. Based on the angle of trajectory, the murderer had been facing the victim. So I'll leave a caption, can't read that word, that our man was possibly left-handed and not KGB, who usually shoot their victims from behind, targeting the calf. The assassin keeps pace with his target a couple of steps to the rear, fires, and hastily passes his victim before the pain even registers. The poison sets in, and death. I'll leave a caption. I can't. Oh no, man, never mind. Death imitates a heart attack. In this case, the particular poison was not only outdated by a decade of new technology, but its shelf life had expired. Although it had still provided lethal enough to work, the weapon must have been someone's war trophy and carried for years some clue. Maybe I'd never hit the bright spot. Maybe I never hit the bright spots, or maybe it was the low and heavy gray clouds, or just the. I'll leave a caption. I can't read that word. Nature of most port cities. Still, I'd be willing to bet Port Newark was scummy any time of the year. In fact, it made Newark look a palace garden, and it just so happened that I was interested in the scummiest section of town. The site of the Dart murder, and the Port Newark Chamber of Commerce wasn't there to welcome me. Instead, I was greeted by rows of dingy warehouses, chain-link fences, and lots of boarded guard dogs waiting for a little action. And a chance to rip off body parts. Even a few weeds would have made the place look more presentable. Of course, any clues left on the scene would probably be long gone by now. However, I wanted to see for myself. The corpse had been found wedged between two pieces of heavy aluminum sheeting, protected from sight but exposed to the elements from above. What we didn't know was whether the body was homegrown or smuggled in on a ship from overseas. Port Newark provided a shipping point for overseas carriers. I'd once dropped off a car for a buddy in the service who was stationed in Saudi Arabia. I'd ship his grandparks to him from there. When discovered, the body's deterioration was advanced at least 2 weeks. It was impossible to determine how long the body had been in that particular location since the warehouse had been abandoned and up for lease for over a year. Attempts to check fingerprints and teeth turned up nothing. The unknown victim could have been a homeless derelict who had broken into the warehouse for shelter during the harsh winter nights and died on the scene. However, there were no signs of forced entry, and of course, there was the telltale dart. Casey's refusal to accept a KGB link to the corpse was based on the outdated nature of the weapon, a fact strongly pointed out by Ames. Moreover, if the murder were connected to a government at all, the odds more likely point to a third world country that had purchased sawed-off Soviet weaponry. We considered Cuban involvement, but in the end rejected the possibility. Even the Cubans' hardware was more up to date. In addition, if Soviet or Cuban intelligence agents had carried out the crime, the dart would not have been left behind, especially since the killers clearly had the opportunity and time to dispose of the body. There was just one reason to have left the dart was the victim. The dart was left in the victim unless someone wanted to leave a calling card or a red herring designed to implicate some other government or agency. At least that was the way Casey and Ames saw it. I concurred. Local agencies, however, seemed to have taken the bait already, perhaps for fame and fortune as the result of a KGB bust. If I caught up with the killer, however, there would be no fame and fortune, only secrecy and the satisfaction of a job well done. I feel satisfied though I first had to do the job, and the dart actually left little to go on. I decided to monitor the KGB angle just in case, even though I like Casey and Ames, was convinced that road would lead nowhere. A bit discouraged and baffled, I wrapped up what proved a frustrating investigation of the Port Newark murder before heading back home to the West Coast. I had gotten a first-hand view of the scene, a list of ships that had docked over the past several months, and precious little else. But my new job was full of surprises. When I got home, a message was already waiting, instructing me to go immediately to a phone booth in Westwood where I would receive a priority message. "Get your ass in gear, Frank," Casey barked over the phone. "We've got KGB in Hollywood. I want you there." That's the end for Chapter 8. Hopefully you enjoyed this read-through here. Till next time, take care, everyone.